A week later, on the day before my oldest son's birthday, I got the type of news that no father wants to hear. Scientifically, there was 0% chance that he was my offspring. Welcome back to They Did What? Your source for the internet's craziest, most entertaining stories, where I go over them, analyze them, and most certainly make fun of them. Today, going to go over a story titled, I Feel Like the World's Biggest Idiot and I Don't Know What to Do. And guys, this story is about a guy. He's been married to his wife for 5 years, and he'd been with her for a lot longer of a time before that. They were college sweethearts, whatever you want to call that. And lo and behold, you're going to see one day he discovers and finds proof that she's cheating on him. You're going to see that she's always working, always away on business. Talk about a stereotype there. And lo and behold, she screwed up one day and he found proof. But it doesn't just stop there. You're also going to see that they have 2 kids, and you find that the oldest kid isn't his. So to make things even worse for the cheating, his child, his son, his firstborn, isn't even his kid. And I'm doing this, guys, as a perfect example to show you guys what is going on in today's world, how bad it can be, and you always have to pay attention for red flags with the cheating. Really need to get to know your girl before you even consider saying I do. How, sadly, it's being proven more and more that if everybody had a paternity test taken on their kids, Lord knows the number of kids wouldn't actually be their own biological kids. It's a shame. And of course, guys out there that simply don't know any better to lay down the law, be tough with their women, their wives, and what happens when they don't? And when a woman loses all respect for you, that is it. It's done. It's over. And so many of these guys in these stories I cover, they just act so nice and accommodating, and they're pushovers. The women walk all over them because they lose all respect for them. But anyhow, guys, that'd be a good one to go over here. It's a long one, but definitely worth hearing the story once again to reiterate and back up what I talk about all the time. So it starts off, it says here, in February 2022, I uncovered that my wife was having an affair with a former coworker. That was just the tip of the iceberg that was about to sink my proverbial ship. I want to document my story for 2 purposes. 1, to readily share when I choose to let my family and friends in, and 2, to get some targeted help for anyone unlucky enough to be in my situation. I rarely opened up, even to the closest to me, so please allow me to be vulnerable. So this guy hasn't told anybody. But think about this. For the guys that are watching this, this happened to you, it'd be embarrassing as all hell to admit that you were this blind, this clueless, taken advantage of. So a lot of guys come on here looking for answers and a way to, unload. He says some background. My wife and I have been a college couple since 2010 and got married in 2017. We have lived across 5 different states in that time. And to preserve plausible deniability, I will not mention them by name. Home is our current home as well as where we were raised. To make matters even more complicated, we have 2 young sons, both under 4 years old. At D-Day, we both had full-time corporate careers, which were demanding, and my wife's job required a lot of regional travel. Additionally, she began investing a significant amount of time in her side hustle, which also required her to be out of the house most of the weekends. So they're always gone. Okay? Who's with the kids? He is. This was proving to be a very challenging point in our life, and it put a huge strain on our relationship as we were not living in our home state at the time and had 0 relatives and close friends in the state. It was becoming unsustainable for me to manage my increasingly demanding career, increasing parental responsibilities, and severe lack of sleep due to a newborn missing his absent mother. Sounds like Mama not only doesn't give a shit about the dad here, which you'll see, but also her boys. For the record, I was not fully ready to have a second child, but she inevitably persuaded me to do it sooner because of her body, her choice, and age of pregnancy. It got to the point where we discussed 2 options to help our family thrive that ultimately did not align to my wife's desires. Number 1, quit her full-time job and provide for our children full-time like she wanted to do since college. Or 2, relocate our family back to our home state so we can leverage our vast support network of family and friends. She was adamant on keeping her current role because it afforded her the ability to travel and have the time and space to focus on other things. Yeah, define other things. Try other DICKS. And she never really considered moving home after my many requests over the years, so I was not surprised when she rejected the idea again. I could not understand where her priorities were because it was clear that it wasn't anywhere near home. Yeah, Always pay attention to someone's actions, men and women. And you're going to see definitely her priorities weren't at home. But here's the deal. He says here, she's the one that wanted to have the second child, and especially right away when they weren't ready. So if he's the one that's always there with the kids and juggling his career and not getting any sleep, he has every right to say, listen, we're going to do one of two things. Either you're going to quit your job because you wanted the second child and you're going to be the stay-at-home mom, which I can provide for, or two, we're going to go back to where we grew up, where we're from, and have family and friends that can assist us because I can't do it all, and lay down the law. The problem is this guy is obviously too nice and allowing her to dictate how things go, and you'll see what happens. You can't do that, guys. The man has to be the leader. You know what happens when the women run the show and lead. Ahead of some of her work trips leading up to February, we would find ourselves arguing over silly things. It seemed like she would look for fights over semantics or misplaced belongings, belittle me in front of the kids, and often ignoring me after long stretches of the day. There you go. Anybody that loves their husband or wife, they'll have a conversation about disagreements in private, not fighting and arguing and belittling in front of the kids. But she has no respect for him, and this is how she's treating him. Not cool. And he should not allow this either. I'm doing a video in a different area so you can hear all these cars driving by. It's a very busy weekend and I couldn't leave, so you can hear all these cars going by, so bear with me, guys. Ahead of some of her work trips leading up to February, we would find ourselves arguing over silly... I read that part. We were both working remotely from our home, and there was a weird feeling every time she would leave the house for an upcoming trip. Almost an eagerness to escape, and a need to leave on the worst terms as possible. She would defy severe weather warnings to make up these trips. Her wedding ring was forgotten at home many times. She missed her anniversary and dog's birthday for an important trip. No call or text. And then I knew it couldn't have been work. There must be someone else. Where there's smoke, there's fire. There's a tremendous amount of red flags here. Bad weather reports, 5 feet of snow, and she's going to still make that plane or try to get in the car and go to that important business trip. Can't be that important that she can't do it remotely. On D-Day, one of her earlier trips, she managed to lock herself out of her long-since-used smartwatch and left it with me so I could reset the watch. This was night 1 of 4 that she was to be sent away. In the first of 2 locations. She wanted it reset, but I figured that I could avoid the hassle and try everyone's birthday until I got it right. Late at night, after getting our boys to sleep, I managed to figure out the password and was able to successfully unlock the watch. And then the messages started coming in. Pictures, instructions on how to get a room key, plans to rendezvous for the future, trips. Talks of running out of time to even have lunch afterwards. Grievances over the weather potentially canceling their second stop on the romantic hotel room tour disguised as work trips. The truth always comes out. And there you go. She actually let him try to figure out how to get her Apple Watch or whatever the hell, iWatch, whatever it's called, working. And this guy saw everything. You know? She obviously didn't cover her tracks, but I don't think she cared too much to cover her tracks, at least with that one. I panicked and called her out immediately. In hindsight, I should have taken my time, but I knew I would be unable to hide my emotions for too long. Well, it doesn't surprise me that he described himself as someone that can't hide his emotions too long, because you can see in this relationship, he's basically in many ways the woman, and she's the man. And women, you generally cannot keep their emotions in check for too long. She ended her trip early to come home the following morning. Her first reaction was to deny, shocker, and then after presented with my overwhelming proof, she reluctantly confirmed. She said it was a coworker that she had worked with for years prior while we were living in separate states. And they had casually kept in touch over the years and started things after we moved to our new state. The 3 instances I uncovered was all of it, and that was all she was willing to divulge. Of course that's all she's willing to divulge. She's not going to give up anything else, because believe me, it's way worse. At that moment, that's when he needs to talk to a divorce attorney and find out all his options, because staying together ain't gonna work. After years of this shit, right? But see, guys, this is just the beginning. Oh, it gets way worse after this. It says I was crushed and couldn't reconcile some of the evidence I had. Contact photos from a formal dinner that didn't fit into her alleged timeline. A lack of remorse from her after the discovery. No surprise there. No remorse for what she did. Does this sound like a woman who respects her guy? Remember, when they lose respect for you, they won't love you. I knew there had to be more. Over the next few days, I would try to find more evidence on her phone and came up empty-handed. No surprise there. I had so many questions unanswered and a wayward wife that was unwilling to talk about it. Well, this is when you lay down the law and say, we are going to talk about things. Or more importantly, talk to a divorce attorney and find out all your options, good, bad, or ugly. You can't stay married to someone like this. You can pick up and move back home with the family and friends and all, and with all this evidence of her cheating and all that, that can have some things. And the fact that she works all the time, is gone all the time, that can make things easier, in my opinion, for him to have the kids. And especially if she makes more money, she could pay him alimony and child support. Because her actions demonstrate she doesn't really want to be around the kids anyway. But the one answer that I did not know was that I wanted our family to move back to our home state. Married, separated, divorced, whatever, I knew that was the best thing for our boys was to be around family while navigating these next steps. To my surprise, she balked at my ultimatum. Move back home for a chance of reconciling this, or stay here and certainly file for divorce. She was defiant, uncompromising, and completely unsupportive of the idea of moving back home. Of course she balked. Of course she was unsupportive and all that, because it's her way or the highway. And this guy obviously lets her dictate how things go. No wonder she doesn't respect it. I mean, I feel bad for this guy, but you can start piecing things together to see why she treats him like she does. You cannot be the pushover Mr. Nice Guy they show in movies. Women will not respect you, and they will literally punish you sometimes for that. Women respect strength. He says here, I felt idiotic offering an olive branch only to have it thrown back in my face. Yeah, because she admitted she was cheating on you all this, or you caught her, and you're doing an olive branch? Oh, hell no. I didn't know how to get out of this situation. I desperately wanted to avoid, and I felt like she was doubling down and staying near this new man. But then I got the confirmation that I needed to definitely answer when this all started. Now he says D-Day Part 2. He says, a week later, on the day before my oldest son's birthday, I got the type of news that no father wants to hear. Scientifically, there was 0% chance that he was my offspring. I still don't know how to say the words that describe what it means because he's obviously not my son. But our DNA doesn't match. She reluctantly confirmed that it was the same man and now confesses that the relationship started a mere 6 months after our wedding. She's been hooking up with this dude after they got married. They've been married for 5 years now. So she's been hooking up with him for like almost 6 years, or five or 6 years. And it's probably before that. She's just not admitting it. And this kid is not his child. This poor bastard. He doesn't mention what led to the DNA test. And I'm assuming the second child is his. This shattered me, and I hate to admit, but it changed my relationship with both my sons. I went from feeling that I had 2 sons on this planet to knowing that while he is my son, I only have one true heir. I love him and wouldn't change anything in any way, but I resent how this played out and how she hid this from me, as I was never given a chance. This is my main focus in therapy. So if it wasn't enough to go to a divorce attorney to find out your options, good, bad, or ugly, now is because this kid isn't yours. And how long has she known about this? I'd like to know. This can't work. She's an awful person, an awful mother, awful wife. Life is too short to someone like this. Even if you get hammered hard in the divorce process, it's better than to be with this harpy. I immediately stopped caring about the relationship implications of this new update. Obviously, it meant she lied. Obviously, it meant that there was more, and it's reasonably obvious to assume there's even more that hasn't been revealed. You can bet your butt there's more than what has been revealed. My immediate priority was to return back home, as I knew I would need family support system. We thankfully agreed to make the move, but logistically it meant I was stuck in many ways. The move wouldn't happen for a few months. Even after making the move home, I would need to wait. Immediately, I followed the discovery. We separated in the same home, but inevitably, over the many weeks, things started to get back to normal. What's normal? Her treating you like crap, bossing you around, and her cheating? We did start to make time for the important conversations and both started seeing therapists, but never stuck once we finally moved home over the summer. Okay, you move back to the area that you're all from, you got family and friends nearby, now divorce it, because now you get kids part of the time, fine. Grandma, grandpa, aunt, Uncle Bill and Aunt Judy can help watch the kids while you're working and all, but you don't have to be married to her anymore. And still, I wonder if she makes more money than him than that she could pay alimony and child support. And then there's a whole question with the child that isn't his, what he does there. Every guy's different how they'd handle that. The plan was to move here, get through enough individual busy summer seasons at work, and then focus on us. What do you mean focus on us? How about focusing on divorce? She's awful. We did not share any of this with our family here, and for the most part are now living like it never happened. That is a terrible idea. She is now instead focusing all her time and energy in growing her side hustle. She's traveling for work again, longer trips now that she has to travel out of state, and staying out of the house longer so she can book additional side jobs. She's gone on weekends, absent for our children's sports, anywhere but home. And what's worse, we don't need the extra money she's chasing. Why is this guy not laying down the law saying, you want to make this work? You're now going to stop this job where you're traveling all the time because you've demonstrated that you can't be trusted. And you're going to start spending time taking care of the kids. You don't need this side hustle. You want to make this work? That's what you're going to do. End of story. But he's not. He says, where am I at now? I'm sad, lonely, and totally paralyzed. I need no further evidence that she doesn't care about me. But I can't bring myself to do anything. Because I prioritized the move, I feel like I played too nice and allowed us to just move past this. The lost reality of the family that I once thought had been hard to cope with, but I just feel completely stuck. Why can't I do the obvious? Because you are too nice. Because I'm sure this guy's a great guy. But when it comes to women, he's weak. Okay? They don't respect weakness. Maybe he's watched too many movies, being that nice guy, give everything for the wife, give her endless chances, say you're always going to be there. Maybe he had no masculine, realistic mentor to tell him reality about women. I don't know. But this is not, if this was a one-time thing, it'd be one thing, but this is all too common in the stories I go over here. He says, separate from her, I've been struggling with this new reality with my son. The very few folks I've discussed this with have all mentioned it doesn't change anything, which is a very noble mentality. However, it feels like it has changed, which adds guilt into the equation. Lost are the happy thoughts that he got it from me, and now I'm left to question how much nurture I can squeeze into to displace as much as the nature. There are the days I wish I hadn't sent off for the DNA test, but quickly remind myself that I needed to. I need to know this, and it was abundantly clear that my wife would have never owned up to it. If you're aware of any support groups for this, please share. Lastly, I feel lucky that I have found out. It was very lucky that I was able to confirm what I had suspected. It makes me wonder how many other close calls I should have pushed harder on. Now I just need an exit strategy. Yes, sir, you do. You need a major exit strategy. Like I said, for this guy, not that he's going to see this, but any guy in a situation like this, talk to a lawyer. Find out all your options in your state. At least you know. Seriously. How hard is that? The consultation's usually free. And then find out your options, good, bad, or ugly. But if this woman makes more money than he does, and he's always one watching the kids, I would imagine at the very least he'd get partial custody of the kids, if not maybe full. Because it sounds like through her actions, she doesn't want to be around the kids anyway. It's possible she could just have it that, okay, you have full custody, I'll see my weekends, and I can keep going off of my traveling for my job, getting some sausage, and working on her side hustle. But remember, this is the woman that wanted to so bad to have kids. Remember that? And wanted that second kid because of her biological clock or whatever. But her actions show she doesn't care all about the family. And she isn't just a bad wife, she's a bad mother because she's betraying those kids. And all along she knew that kid wasn't her husband's son. She kept that from them, right? But needs to talk to a lawyer, find out all the options, and then move forward with a divorce because he cannot be married to her. She's a terrible person. And life is too short to do that. And for the kids are young. They'll be all right. They got other family around to support them and keep an eye on them and all that. And believe me, mom and dad stay together and it's just an ugly environment. They're going to think that's how life is. And one day those kids will grow up and have relationships like that. So, and I've observed this. I've observed this in people I know in families. It's not a good situation. I get he doesn't want to do this, but better to tear off the Band-Aid quick than to keep tearing off slowly. So I wish this guy all the best, and anybody in a situation like this, here's an example of what you got to do. All right, guys, that's it for today. Be sure to comment down below. Let me know what you think about this. Let this guy know what you think, how we should handle the situation. And be sure to like the video, share with your friends, and subscribe. I'll catch you next time.